Hi. This topic has come up before in some discussions, and it's a video I've actually been meaning to make for a while. One of the things is, why do we in Pikiti swing the way that we do? Quick review, if you aren't a Pikiti practitioner, we talk about having 90-degree principle from the weapon to the wrist, and that we swing with this big chamber, and we cut here, or we're cutting here, as we go here. Pikiti gets called an edged impact weapon. Essentially, the edged weapon takes priority over the impact status, though we fight with sticks as well, or other impact weapons. So, when we use this, okay, we have this kind of basic mechanic as we're going through here. Okay? And I'm maintaining this 90-degree, might cast a little bit out, but generally we have this what we call 90-degree principle, where we maintain this level between offense and between our weapon to our forearm. Why? Because a lot of times, one of the common mistakes that we see in a beginner is that they'll come out and they'll do this, or they'll swing. Why? Right? And this is super common. This is the most common probably mistake that you get in the beginning, is where a person will extend this. Sometimes they'll put their thumb on it and kind of treat it like a magic wand versus the weapon that it is. But why do we do that? Because other systems do cast. Okay, not all systems, and certainly not all weapon systems in the world, use this. So why in Pikiti do we use this particular setup? And I think it's important to note when we do this that we have to look beyond the stick, this rattan 8-ounce training weapon, to what we're actually supposed to be doing, because it makes more sense, I think, as we go back sort of in history. So, right, if I sort of do a comparison, okay, this is a modern day rattan stick. This is a modern day Gununti, right? The signature weapon of Pikiti. So I'll lose the rattan stick, and so now I go through here, and you can sort of see this mechanic here. One question is like, why are you chambering? Where the hell up here? Well, one of the reasons we chamber up here is to get this weapon essentially out of play. My weapon arm, which is obviously my offense and defense, is back out of play, and I'm chambered for this big heavy cut. But one of the questions on there is like, wait, do I need a big number one every time? Do I need this big number 4? And quite frankly, I don't. With a sword, and that's what we're talking about here, I can get my tip velocity up to maximum cutting speed like that. Okay, that's all I need to get maximum. I can get a little bit more from there, but I can do all kinds of damage from that. So why did we teach it from here? So one of it is mechanics. Okay, I'll go back to the stick for this one. We talk about having a common platform between all the different levels. That my number 1 and my number 2 are my slashing mechanics. They're my impact weapon mechanics. They are, if I have a knife, I'm striking with the puño, or this is my reverse grip knife. Okay? If I go unarmed, this is my slashing, hammer fists, slapping, whatever, as we move down, right? So this has a common set of mechanics, so I'm not teaching one thing for knife and one thing for impact weapons and one thing for sword. It's a common mechanic as you go all the way through the line. And that's important to note, because this structure gives us that. But that's not the only reason. Even if we just went back to weapon fighting, we said, we're just a sword fighting system. Ignore the transferability down to the other ranges. Okay? Again, edged impact system, edged first. This is a really good Gununti. It's also really light. Okay? This is more of a dedicated fighting weapon than the ancestor weapon that this one came from. So let's go back in time, right? This is an antique, okay, from Panay. It's heavier than this one. You can see that it's broader, it's fatter. It's about essentially the same length as this current one, but it's heavier, okay? It's more tip weighted, and what I can do with here in terms of, say, a jab game, I can't do with here. This is the historical Gununting that this one came from, way back when. But even in this one, right? So a lot of my fast maneuverability gets less fast and less maneuverable as I use this one. It's certainly there, okay? But this isn't a very big, this one isn't a large example of it. Moving up in scale. Another antique, okay? You can't see from this video, you can see that this is a little bit longer and it's a little bit fatter. This thing is a third again as heavy as this. This is about 800 grams. This is one of the heavier end of the design weapons that I've run across. But when I hold this, all of a sudden this art makes sense. It's like, huh, now I know why I'm chambered up here. Because I can't get tip velocity from this. I do a lot of work and I can't do it. So, but this, boom, boom. Oh yeah, that's where this, boom, boom, where this cutting mechanic is coming from, right? Boom. Okay, so not only do we have a reason for these big chambers is because we're using big, heavy weapons, in relative terms anyway, is coming through here. Again, this is 2.5 times this. If we go back to our training tool, okay, this thing is at least 2.5 times what this thing is, at least. Okay, so there's all kinds of things I can do with this and that I cannot do with this. Recovery time is different. All these different factors are coming into play. So, just the mechanics, if we look at the historical art, this is different than this. Now beyond that, why do I keep 90-degree principle? Okay, because if I cast, I can hit my target. And I'm going to move away from using the antique here because I don't want to beat up my antique on my target. Okay, so moving into a trainer. So if I keep 90-degree principle here, I can't reach my target. Why don't I just reach out and touch it? Because if I cast, I get additional range. Well, that's a good question. Because range means a lot, right? If I can hit, that's better. I mean, I get 4 or 5 inches. That's a big freaking deal with, you know, in a sparring match. So as we look at this, why do we do this? Well, one of the reasons is as I cast and come out, if you saw that antique, I got no hand protection. Right? It has a guard. It's this big. Right? It is literally the top of your palm. There's nothing coming in from the side, there's nothing from the front. Okay? So if I cast, look at my hand. My hand's leading the way. That's not good. Okay? What do we try to do all the time when we're sparring? We try to take out that lead limb as much as we can. So if this is happening while you get a different range, this becomes more of a target. So that's not good. So, and if you looked at our 90-degree principle, as you come into this range, the weapon is in the front. And if in danger, I can always shorten that arc to protect the hand, to bring that back, right? You can see that on my backhand line as I pull that back. If I feel and threaten, I can pull this back. If I cast, I cast, trying to pull this back is a much slower process. So that to me is the reason why we use 90-degree principle. It's not because of range and it's not because of impact. Because if we were just talking about force transmission, casting would be the way to go. It is more efficient to drive your weapon into the target so that the vector of force goes this way and not this way. If your weapon is still moving after you've hit your target, you have not imparted all the kinetic energy from this to this, right? I hit it, same force, that hits harder. The reason is protection of you. Protection of you as the fighter and protection of that weapon limb in a time when they didn't have these. Okay? If we go back, we look at other fighting systems that do use these, and also if you look at the actual use of a machete, like if you just the agricultural use of machete, literally it's called batoning. Okay? They cast with it because for minimum effort, they get most of the force out into the target. Okay? And so some FMA systems will use this Potomac system because they've transmitted, they've taken the agricultural weapon out of the field and used it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not what we do in Piketty, and I'm trying to explain why we don't do it. You do see it frequently in European systems. In fact, in virtually all of the European systems that I know of, they cast. Well, why is that? How do they protect the hand? Well, there's a couple of different reasons. In one of the systems that I studied, Scottish broadsword, hey, look, I have a handguard that, like, these S-guards showed up after the Spanish came in. What would I rather have protecting my hand in a fight? And the answer is obviously this one, right? I have a basket of steel around my hand. A lot of the defensive play that we do in Piketty gets negated by a basket guard. All the defangs, I literally move this, and this kind of thing affects the entire structure of play. So now, I'm on my basket hilt. I get to play at these long distance, all wrist. You won't see this, okay? It's all wrist. That's not a bad thing. It's a technology difference that is allowing a change in the fight game, okay? Anyway, I just want to explain why you're seeing these differences between Piketty and some other systems. There's a good reason for it, and the reason is mostly your protection. It's not because you hit harder, because you don't, okay? It's because you are protecting your arm coming out of a system that is a stick or a weapon that has no hand protection. Thank you. I hope that helps. Again, this is my opinion, just kind of derived over time, but I think it holds up.